To mark the 4th anniversary of the abduction of Leah Sharibu by Boko Haram terrorists from Government Girls Science and Technical College in Dapchi, Yobe State, Northeast Nigeria, on February 19, 2018, the promoter of the hashtag Free Leah Sharibu movement, Reno Omokri, is releasing a single titled Angels on Guard, a song for Leah. Written by acclaimed music diva, broadcaster, and actress Onyeka Onwenu, the song is performed by Onyeka and features foremost gospel singer Panam Percy Paul, Leah's father Nathan Sharibu, and Omokri.
I am Sharibu Nathan, the father of Leah Sharibu from Government Science Secondary School, Dapchi, Yobe State, who was abducted on the 19th of February 2018. Up to now, she is in captivity. I'm calling for the Nigerian citizens and the whole world not to forget about Leah Sharibu, who is still in captivity.
Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, we will never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, we will never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. She wouldn't deny how Jesus kept in captivity through torture and pain. Come what may, wherever you may be, angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, we will never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. We sing this song to help us remember that every child has a purpose and a reason to be born. We are so many on your side. We will never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, we will never, never, never forget you. Child of the living God. Angels on guard. Angels on guard. Wherever you may be, angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. Leah Sharibu, many years have gone by, and how we miss you. Child of God, we'll never, never, never forget you. Angels on guard. Nigeria will never forget you. We love and we remember every child of God. Never, never, never forget you. Angels.
What is one thing that each of us can do today to help push this movement forward?
Go on social media, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, go on Facebook, go on Tinder, go on as many social media platforms that you have, and then just put Free Leah Sharibu, the hashtag, just put it there. I wrote a book, it's called Leah Sharibu, the girls that Boko Haram left behind, and all the profits, all my royalties, I'm going to donate all the profits from this book to Leah's mother. So just go on your social media profiles and then just Put the hashtag there, free Leah Sharibu.
All right, you guys, you got it. That's what we need to do. Free Leah Sharibu. Everybody, go make your hashtag, hit the social media, all platforms. We together have...
The song we've just listened to was executive produced by Omokri and is intended to draw global attention to Leah Sharibu's plight and continued stay in captivity. She was abducted alongside 109 other students of the school aged 11 to 19 by the radical Islamist group exactly 4 years ago. But while 104 surviving students of the school were released a few weeks later, Leah, who was 14 years old at the time, remained in captivity for refusing to reject Christianity and convert to Islam. Sadly, 5 of the schoolgirls died on the day of their abduction. Now joining us to discuss the 4th anniversary of her abduction and his unrelenting drive for her release is Reno Omokri, a lawyer, rights activist, and former aide to President Goodluck Jonathan. Welcome to the show, Reno, and good morning.
Good morning, Tindu. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Reno. Thank you for joining us. Quite interesting to see that song for Leah Sharibu and to see that you also sing. But first, thanks to the elegant stallion, Onyeka Onwenu, and Panam Percy Paul, lending their legendary talents to what we all consider a very worthy cause. But I would like to ask you, why are you so determined on this subject? It will be 4 years tomorrow since Leah Sharibu and the other girls were abducted. And as at last year, we were told that she's already been almost fully assimilated into the Boko Haram community, having been delivered of 2 kids to a Boko Haram top commander. But here you are, still waging war for her release. What if she herself has decided that she's effectively assimilated and she's okay where she is? Why are you so determined?
Well, here's the thing. When there's duress involved, you cannot have an act of free will. So Leah has not been married. She's been raped. So we have to establish that she wasn't married. There was duress involved. She's been raped. Now, we don't know if she's had 2 children. The go-between that we have with Boko Haram has been able to establish that she has at least 1 child. So you have to look at it this way. I'm an ordained pastor, and if you read 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20, it says that I am an ambassador of Christ, as though God is speaking through me. And so I am an ambassador. So that means that Leah Sharibu is a citizen of my country. So I represent her. And that's why I'm doing this. She's a citizen of the country that I represent, the kingdom of God. And I'm going to keep on, going around. I'm going to keep on agitating until Leah is released.
Well, thank you for keeping her a cause celeb. It's extremely important. I want to talk about exactly what she symbolizes to you. And also, can you tell us how this collaboration came about that made you produce Angels on Guard?
Well, if you read scripture, you'll see that Peter, he denied our Lord and Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach, otherwise known as Jesus Christ, 3 times. Now, this young girl, at the age of 14, she was given an opportunity. If you read my book, of which I gave the royalties to her mother, you'd see that I interviewed people who were there, eyewitnesses, girls. And this girl had an opportunity to deny Christ, and she said no. And then if you go back and look at her life before the abduction, she was very active in her local church. She was an evangelist, a child evangelist. So it really gives me a lot of courage. A lot of people, I was being interviewed yesterday, and somebody told me that Christ had failed her. I said, no, Christ has not failed her. Because of Leah, the gospel and Christianity is going around the world. It's inspiring people. When there's persecution, faith grows. And that's what Leah has done. And then in terms of the collaboration, I called the elegant stallion, Onyeka Onwenu, and I spoke to her and I told her about my plans. And without batting an eyelid, she said, yeah, she was going to do it. The studio sessions were very, very expensive. They cost, I believe, about $1 million. And I was going to send money. I actually sent money to my assistant. And the next thing I knew, Onyeka Onwenu sent me a wire transfer. She had paid the money, and she refused to be compensated. So Onyeka only paid for the studio session. I called Panam Percy Paul, and then before I even finished, he told me, look, I've been trying to reach you. I'm going to do it. And Leah Sharibu's father added some vocals. So that was how the project came about, and then we had the video. The video was shot in Tobago. I just got back from Tobago, and so it's going around worldwide. So we're having worldwide distribution beginning from tomorrow, because tomorrow is the actual date of the anniversary.
Okay, Reno. Well, I would like to ask you, you've been involved in a lot of advocacy on this subject. Music, books, your book, Leah Sharibu, The Girl Boko Haram Left Behind, and then a song for Leah Sharibu. You've been involved in advocacy all over the world. But what efforts, concrete efforts, beyond advocacy have you made in terms of maybe interfacing with the Nigerian government to get her released? And I ask that question because some of your critics say that what you are interested in when the book came out was profit, to make money from Leah Sharibu's plight. And I wouldn't be surprised when this song for Leah Sharibu goes out there. They'll say, oh, Reno wants to make money again. Why doesn't he just do something more concrete? What do you say to that?
Well, that will be foolish. Let's focus on what cannot lie. Let's focus on the facts. I wrote the book, Leah Sharibu, The Girl Boko Haram Left Behind. And incidentally, this book was marketed on Amazon. Now, you, Dr. Ruben Abadi, or anybody can go on Amazon and you can actually check how much that book has made. And you can see how much the book has made. When I got royalties for that book, the royalties stayed with me for exactly 5 minutes. And the reason why it stayed with me for 5 minutes is because I was trying to get the CAN chairman on the phone. I got CAN on the phone, transferred the money to them within 5 minutes, and then the money was paid to Leah Sharibu's mother. I haven't made a penny or a dime from anything related to Leah Sharibu. As a matter of fact, I've spent a lot of my money, and I'm glad and I'm happy doing that. If you recall, on April 3rd, 2019, Boris Johnson modeled the very first free Leah Sharibu t-shirts. And then people indicated interest, and we did an auction of the t-shirts, and we raised about almost £5,000, not quite £5,000. That money was paid within seconds to Leah Sharibu's father. So the royalties from the book went to Leah Sharibu's mother, and then the royalties from the t-shirts went to Leah Sharibu's father. I didn't even take back the amount of money I spent there. Now, in terms of concrete action, what I've been doing is this. I've been going around the world to meet world leaders. I've met 2 British prime ministers. I've met a Spanish prime minister, a former Canadian prime minister, and then I've met 11 sovereign governments. What I've been doing is to help them, to tell them to interface with the Nigerian government and to help the Nigerian government in however way they can to get Leah free. One of the things that we know for a fact is that this administration has done prisoner swaps with Boko Haram and ISWAP. And so we suggested to them that, okay, why not swap a prisoner with Leah Sharibu? Because Boko Haram and ISWAP, they reached me through their intermediary. Actually, they reached CAN, and then CAN reached me. They asked me to bring $500,000. And I was prepared to sell my home in America and raise the money and pay. And then when I actually even got a second mortgage on my home. But then when I met with Boris Johnson in the United Kingdom, one of the security officials told me, look, if you pay this ransom that they're asking for, it's going to result in them taking more girls, and you're going to make the problem worse. So what we've been doing, we've been trying to help the government, with Leah Sharibu. As a matter of fact, I was in Congress. I met with Congressman Smith. And if you recall, when President Muhammadu Buhari then went to America, one of the first things that President Trump talked to him about was Leah. The same thing with Vice President Osibanjo. When he went and saw Mike Pence, then the VP, the very first thing, not one of the very first thing that Mike Pence told him was Leah. So I've been taking concrete action, and I've not profited from this. This song is a charity single, meaning that money is not going to be made. I'm giving it free of charge to people. I'm giving it free of charge to radio stations. I'm giving it free of charge to TV stations.
Well, thank you for that clarification there, Reno. I want you to talk about the broader picture. According to UNICEF stats from last year, over 200 Nigerian students are in captivity now. Over 300,000 children in the northeast zone alone have been killed by terrorists, and 1 million Nigerian children have been displaced. Let's talk about the gravity of the problem that we're facing in this country.
Well, the issue there is this, that because we refuse to educate our children in the times past, we're paying the price. Because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And that's why when there was slavery in the United States, what they did is that they refused, and it was actually illegal to educate black slaves. And so one of the ways that they would lynch slaves is that they would pretend to befriend them and ask them to read something. And if they could read, they would attack them. So you see, oppressors have always not wanted people to be educated. Now, the Nigerian government, especially during the military era, neglected education. And so now we are paying the price. So the way to reverse this is we have to prioritize education. A lot of people might not know, but there are actually 13.5 million children out of school in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria. So Nigeria is the world headquarters for out of school children. In the year 2017, we overtook India. So the way to address this is to build schools. And I must commend the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, I can't remember her name, this idea that she brought up where in northern Nigeria, especially in the northeast, that they would give children free food if they come to school. It was a good idea. So people were coming to school not because of education, but because of the food, and then they would eat. But as long as they're educated, what will happen? The girls will not have children very early. And then the boys will have a skill. And then when you have a skill, you are less likely to be indoctrinated by terror groups.
Okay, Reno, maybe we should move quickly away from Leah Sharibu. I think that has been well established, your involvement, your commitment, in that regard. But what's your take on the state of the nation, particularly with regard to two issues? The first, scarcity, that Nigerians are expressing at the moment. And second, the Abba saga. I know you said a number of things about Abba, but you are now on Arise TV. We'd like to have your take on those two issues.
Okay, first on Abba, President Muhammadu Buhari might mean well, but there's some things that we have to look at. There is no balance in Nigeria's law enforcement agencies. So you have to look at it now. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice is from Yobe State in the northwest. Now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria is from Dapchi State in the northeast. The Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is from the northwest. What's the other one now? Anyway, so you see, the Inspector General of Police is from Borno State in the northeast. So there's no balance. All these fellows are northern Muslim males. And so there might be what they call an unconscious bias. Not that they intend to be biased, but there's an unconscious bias. There's something in law that they said, familiarity breeds satisfaction. So when you have these people, there's a likelihood that you have an old boy network. So the law enforcement agencies in Nigeria are even more imbalanced than the security service, that is the military and the other intelligence arms. So what President Muhammadu Buhari has to consider doing is that he has to make the law enforcement agencies more balanced. So he has to involve people from other geopolitical zones. Maybe the IGP can come from somewhere else, and then that unconscious bias, it will be broken, because that's what allowed a man like Abba to rise through the ranks to get a standing ovation from Nigeria's House of Representatives. Because if you look at the man, there are some things that don't gel. If you look at his social media profiles, he behaves like a teenager, a teenage girl, not even a teenage boy. He's very flamboyant. He's always boisterous. He's regularly posting. He takes clothes in fashion design, in designer wears. And that's a red flag, because normally a cop, particularly a super cop, is meant to be conservative. This man's behavior, in the United States, the FBI, they would have a profile. His profile did not fit what he was trying to project to the public, which is a super cop. Now, that is one. Now, on the issue of adulterated fuel and the NNPC, this is what we've been talking about, that this administration and any other administration needs to privatize the NNPC. Government must not be in the business of being in business. Government must regulate business. The NNPC cannot effectively and in a business-like manner manage this issue. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look at what's been happening all over the world. First from the United Kingdom, where Margaret Thatcher in the 80s privatized the oil industry, and then going over to the United States, which has always been in private hands. And look at the communist country like China. Even in Hong Kong, they said, look, this system cannot work. So in Hong Kong, it's privatized. So if you had somebody, look at somebody like Aliko Dangote. When Obasanjo was leaving, he sold the refineries to Aliko Dangote. If that sale had not been reversed by Malam Umaru Musa Yaradua, Nigeria would not be in the situation that it is.
Well, thank you, Reno. What is your take now that, according to this day, we're 365 days to the presidential election? So I must ask you, your take on those who have declared an intention to contest for the highest office, particularly from your party, PDP. Do you have any favorites yet?
Well, I would not tell Nigerians who to vote for, and I would not tell my party members who to vote for. Internally, we're going to talk about that. But I would like to talk about the presidential race in general. We've had 7 years of Muhammadu Buhari. Now, Muhammadu Buhari, he has his faults, but he said that, and in fairness to him, he said that, look, that ill health actually affected my performance. Ill health and old age actually affected my performance. So perhaps he meant well. But he was honest enough to say, look, I've not been able to do what I wanted to do because of ill health, number one, and old age. So we can't be going from 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari to another person who suffers from those two malaise, ill health and old age. And if you look at somebody who is probably the front runner in the APC, someone like Bola Tinubu, I mean, he has just come back from London after he went to London 3 months ago for ill health, and then 3 months later he's just come back. And then we've seen him, he suffered an enuresis incident at the palace of the Awujale of Ijebuland. And I don't want to use that against him, but enuresis is an old age related disease, illness. And then a few days later, another video came out, and I must confess I was the one who released that video, where he had to suffer the same incidents in public. So obviously, this man is not well. He's not fit. And if you look at his mentality, his acumen, last year, January specifically, I think it was on the 29th, he was in Kanu, and he said, look, we can solve the security crisis in Nigeria by employing 50 million youths into our army. That shows that the man's mental acumen is not right there. So what we need is somebody who doesn't have health issues and who is mentally fit to be in that office, so that we can continue growing our economy. Because right now, our economy, the president means well, but he's not been able to fulfill his promises.
Okay, Reno, before we go, what do you think will happen in 2023? Because there are persons who are even saying without restructuring, there will be no election. There are pessimists who are saying, well, in 2023, it will be same of the same. What are your own expectations beyond what you have described as what should be the character or the quality of the next president of Nigeria?
Well, it's said that the best predictor of future events is past events. Nigeria has gone through the January 15, 1966 coup. And then we didn't break up. We didn't. There was no cataclysm. We had the July 29 counter coup of 1966. There wasn't any cataclysm. We had the civil war. We overcame it, and then we're still together. We had the military intervention December 29 or December 30th of 1983. We are still here. We went through 16 years of vicious military rule, especially the last 5 years with General Sani Abacha. We're here. So I think these doomsday sayers, they need to look at the past and then use that to secure the future. Nigeria is going to have an election in 2023. A winner is going to emerge. That winner is going to be inaugurated, and then things will go on. We hope that's going to be a good leader, but no, Nigeria is going nowhere.
Okay, well, on that note, Tunum, I think you can still take one more question, yes?
So I wanted to go back to your point about age and health and how difficult it is to actually assess that without being somebody's physician. That point must be stressed. But you didn't speak about zoning. I'd like you to address that, burning debate right now. Are you in support of the Southeast agitation for President of Nigeria after all this time?
Well, I'm going to say this. I promised a very, very prominent Nigerian who owns a newspaper and also a TV station. I made a promise to him that I will keep my views on zoning to myself, because I made a comment on that particular issue, and apparently that comment it went far and wide and it influenced a lot of people. And he called me and told me that, listen, in future, why don't you keep your opinions about that issue to yourself? And I made a promise, and I'm a man of my word, so I will keep to that promise I made to him.
Okay, Reno, you are saying you allowed somebody else to gag you? That's unacceptable. Nobody should gag anybody. If you have an opinion, you express it. Nobody can gag me. If I have something to say, I say it. So in this case, you are confessing that certain people can gag you.
Okay, let me put it this way. It's not that somebody gagged me. It's just because I have respect for people. You know, I was brought up to have respect. But since you put it that way, I will say this. I stand by the Nigerian Constitution.
Okay, anyway, thank you very much, Reno Omokri. A great delight to have you on the morning show again today. Thank you very much indeed.